Welcome back in. A federal judge recently blocked Florida's ban on gender-affirming health care for minors. In the ruling, the judge said that gender identity is real and the ban is likely unconstitutional. The Republican state legislature recently passed the law, which was championed by Governor Ron DeSantis. And the judge said the plaintiffs suing the state will suffer irreparable harm if they cannot begin puberty blockers. He also noted treatments are often used to treat non-transgender children for other conditions. The governor's office has not yet commented. And there are cases like these happening all over the country, in the courts and in state legislatures. So let's talk about it all with friend of the show, Chris Geidner from Dork News. Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Katie.
So let's talk about the Florida case and the judge's decision here. It was pretty remarkable. What did he say?
Yeah, I mean, there have been a few cases challenging these bans that had happened before this big year of all of these legislative developments. But this was the first one this year, and it was a substantial ruling that involved a Judge Robert Hinkle, who had gone through a trial in a related case. So he had heard tons of evidence, he had heard experts, and the parties agreed that those experts could be a part of this ruling as well. And so what he did in this ruling was go through the rationale that Florida had given for, first under its medical boards administratively, and then under this new law, putting in place these bans on gender-affirming medical care for trans minors. And basically where he came out was that there was no reason to be treating these children differently in their ability to get these drugs prescribed for them when their doctors decided that that was appropriate.
And what was some of that expert medical testimony that the judge relied on that backed that decision?
Yeah, I mean, there was, I mean, they had, as I said, they had this whole trial, and I mean, there was testimony about what the standards were for giving puberty blockers and hormones to trans minors, what other conditions those drugs are given to cisgender children who have other conditions that necessitate the use of either puberty blockers or hormones. And then, I mean, there were other witnesses for the plaintiffs who had testified on the emotional, the family effect, on sort of the international standards for the use of those drugs. And notably, one of the things that Judge Hinkle noted was that even one of Florida's witnesses acknowledged that this was not some out of the ordinary prescription when needed.
You are one of the few reporters.
The bans obviously had no exception, so it is a case where you are going from a decision that's made by a doctor with their patients to a decision made by the state, something that we've been hearing a lot about over the past year.
We have been, and you are one of the few reporters who's really tracking in detail all of these debates and court cases that are happening across the country. Our viewers have seen it happen most notably in Virginia recently, both in the state legislature and dealing with the school board and some of the standards applied there about children being able to choose the bathroom that corresponds either with the gender assigned at birth or not. And so I want to ask you, are we gearing up for what is going to be a major political hot button issue in 2024? And is the idea here to kind of use the courts to move this conversation forward?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that, I mean, especially as to the gender affirming care bans, none have succeeded in court. Bans in Alabama and Arkansas that preceded this year have thus far not been allowed to go into effect. The Oklahoma Attorney General, seeing sort of where the the landscape was, has agreed while the case is going on not to enforce Oklahoma's ban, because I think bluntly he was avoiding a preliminary injunction decision that would have been against the state while they're litigating it. I mean, what we're seeing is that most of these laws, especially as to the medical care, are really the sort of restrictions that we've never allowed states to give. And they're being struck down. This as well, in addition to the equal protection claims, there was also a parental rights claim that Judge Hinkle said was likely to succeed under the Constitution.
That's been a big part of the debate in Virginia as well, with people on both sides of the issue, actually. All right, well, you can find Chris's work at Law Dork News. You can subscribe to his newsletter there, and you can track these cases for yourself as well, if that's what you're interested in doing. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Thanks a lot, Katie.
All right, much more to come on In the Courts. We'll award this week's Legal Loser.